I think one of the most incredible Rabbanim that I've had the privilege of knowing is Rav Mordechai Twerski, known as Rav Matal Twerski, known by many of us as the most loving, open, huge-hearted person who absolutely loves everybody. Now, I want to give you a yashikayach, which I've never done. I've done it, but not in person, on behalf of everybody in this room. Because for many years, Rabbi Twerski is one of the only, maybe the only, Rav who took that list with all of your children's names on it. I send out the list with the children's names to hundreds of Rabbanim, and you've put it in every tzion, and Rebbe gets it around the world. Rabbi Twerski, before Ne'ilah, is it? Every year, gives out the list to his congregants of his shul and asks everybody to take some names to daven for our children who are in pain. For years. Nobody asked him. I just sent it out like everybody else. But Rabbi Twerski is known to have such a huge heart. He cares and loves our children, the ones who are the way that we wish that they were, and the ones that are struggling and suffering. And I want to thank you for that. And the tefillas on Miskabel for all of your children that are struggling. We need more Rabbanim who have a heart, that are on such a level to say, oh, there's a list of names, about 500-600 names on there. Let's do something about it. What can we do? So it's a rallying call. It's telling everybody in the Kehillah, you could do something. It's before Ne'ilah now. It's before Ne'ilah. We can daven. We can pray together. And they finish whatever all the details are, and they daven for our struggling kids. So on behalf of all of the neshamas and their parents, and all the Zaydis and all the people, the Zaydis and Babas and Gan Eden, that are saying, thank you, Rabbi Twerski, for davening for our children and for inspiring your Kehillah to follow. We should have more Kamaycha Yibu B'Yisrael. Without further ado, my close friend and wonderful Rav in the community, Rav Mordechai Matal Twerski.
As soon as Avi sent me the message, asked me if I would speak, the answer, of course, was yes, because I can't think of any place better that would be able to open my heart for davening on Yom Kippur than to share it with people whose hearts are open. And we're open because of the pain of our life's experiences. But I wanted to share a thought and a story, but not about 100 years ago, and not about another tzaddik, but about this, not tzaddik. Because I always had a kasha for many years. We prepare ourselves for Yom Kippur. Yeah, we were already being saying shlichus now for 10, 20 days, 30 days, depending upon where we come from. And we're in the right frame of mind to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, Ribono Shel Olam, I want you to accept my tefillas. And we get all excited, right? The men are in the kittel, and the white kittel, and the women are with the white tichlach. Everybody's ready in shul. And we take out the Sifrei Torah. Some take out 3, some take all the Sifrei Torah. Walk around, everybody gives a kiss to Sefer Torah. Very dramatic moment. And we start the most dramatic tefillah of Yom Kippur, Kol Nidrei. Huh? I looked at, where's the Kol Nidrei? I learned the Gemara in the Durham. It's about releasing ourselves from oaths and vows and commitments and promises. That's when I'm starting with Kol Nidrei. HaTorah Nedarim. Anticlimactic. What's the purpose of it? And of course, it's such a inspiring nusach. Kol Nidrei. And everybody's, they're chuckling. Why? What's the purpose of Kol Nidrei in its importance for Yom Kippur? So, on one hand, it's my father's Baruch used to tell us every Yom Kippur, Kol Nidrei is so that the words that we said this last year, the words that we said that hurt us and hurt other people, we have to let go of them. Because if we hold on to those words, Ribono Shel Olam has no purpose for the rest of the words. It's a thought. But I want to tell you a personal story which made Kol Nidre different for me. About 20 years ago, we were invited to, an Enikel was born in Yerushalayim, and my wife and I flew out to Eretz Yisrael for the bris. And we had some friends who were involved with Kippur in Eretz Yisrael. It was called Visa, Visiting Israel Students Association. Rabbi Avram Chugman, so Zangazin Shtak, Rabbi Choshev Yid, ran this program. And he said, oh, good, you're in Eretz Yisrael. I'm running a Shabbaton in Tzfas. Could you come up and join me in Tzfas? So we went up for Shabbos. Thursday, they did a midnight tour of the old city of Tzfas, very spiritually. The tour guide knew all of the history and the wonderful stories of Chachmei Tzfas, beautiful stuff. Friday morning, we took a tour of the artist quarter, and then I told him, listen, it's about 11:30 in the morning, before Chatzos, I'm going down to the Kever Ari. For two reasons, because to be in Tzfas and not by the Kever Ari, like a waste of a good trip. And because my wife's Elta Zayda was of Moshe David Ashkenazi, was buried there in Tzfas. And here, from his kever until today, until my shver, there are no places to go. There are no kvarim in the family. They're all wiped out during World War II. So it's the only real kever of the Zaydas that we have to go to. So I said, I want to go here. I have an Einikel. It's going to a bris. I want to say Mazel Tov to the Zayda. And so I tell the group, okay, listen, all the guys who want to go with me, there were about 20 boys and girls. I said, all the guys who want to come with me down to the Kever Ari, please come. We're going to first go into the mikveh of the Ari. Now these are college kids. If you've been in the mikveh of the Ari, it's freezing cold. So I said, okay, first I get undressed, I jump in, jump out, and then I said, okay, now it's your turn. And of course, you could hear the koilus halfway down the mountain. All the guys are screaming and yelling, it's freezing cold. Okay, fine, it's good. Now they're ready. We went down to Kever Ari, we said a kapitel Tilim, and we head down the hill towards the El Tezedah's kever, and we come to the kever of Rabbi Yosef Karo. And I stopped. First of all, there was a woman standing there, obviously crying and shuckling, and I stopped, don't want to interfere with somebody's special moment. And she looks up, she sees myself with about the 10 or 15 students, and she steps back and says, please come. So I stopped, I said, I want to point out, on the kever of Rabbi Yosef Karo is written, the old kever, Peinun, Poinitman, here lies, HaRav, Rabbi Yosef Karo. He said, I want to tell you why Rabbi Yosef Karo got a double title, HaRav Rabbi Yosef Karo. A little bit of Jewish history. Yosef Karo's family were Gurgushes. Svara, they had been expelled in the expulsion from Spain. And they came to Tzfas. Some say Rabbi Yosef Karo was born in Spain, some say he was born right after. They came to Tzfas, but he grew up in Tzfas. And he became part of the Beis Din of Tzfas. We all know the history, the Spanish Inquisition. We know of the history of the Marranos, those Jews who stayed in Spain and kept their Judaism hiddenly. I'm not sure if all of you know that the Jews who stayed in Spain were put in cherem. They're excommunicated from Klal Yisrael because they chose to stay in Spain and practice Christianity because they had property, they had money, they were well-to-do. So they chose their wealth over their Jewish identity. Okay, yes, they're Mesiras Nefesh, they kept their Judaism hiddenly, but the Chachamim of that generation said nobody asked them to accept Christianity for the sake of money, and they put all those who stayed into cherem. the word Moranos means pig. They were called pigs by the Jewish community because they chose their money over their Jewish identity. By the time Rabbi Yosef Karo grew up, it was already 50, 70 years since the expulsion from Spain. The Moranos were already starting to flee from Spain. And they came particularly to Eretz Yisrael, and they wanted to be accepted, and there was a problem. They were all in Cherem. They were all excommunicated. We weren't allowed to have anything to do with them. And so they had to find a way to release them. There's a problem. You cannot annul a decree of a previous Beis Din unless there's another Beis Din, Godol mehem b'chochma u'b'minyan. You have to have a Beis Din that's greater than the original ones that made the decree. Who was going to disqualify the original Beis Din? So the Chacham of Tzfas, with the agreement of the Chacham of Yerushalayim, followed the Rambam's procedure of reinstituting smicha. The smicha that was lost from Moshe Rabbeinu, which had been cut off in the times of Rebbe Kiva's Talmidim. The Rambam has a formula. You have to get the majority of the sages of the generation to all agree, and they conferred smicha upon Rabbi Yaakov Beirav, the Rav of Tzfas, Rabbi Yosef Karo, and I forgot the name of the third one. They had smicha, and that smicha had one purpose. The purpose was to annul the cherem against the Moranos. So I said, here we are at the Kippur of Rabbi Yosef Karo. And it says, HaRav, Rabbi Yosef Karo, because he had smicha, just like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shmuel, all the Tanoim who had that title, Rabbi Yosef Karo had that title. It was a one-time only. They never used it again. They used it to release the Moranos. So I said, so I've heard, I have a Masorah, that that's the reason why we say Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre, while the source is in the Gemara, but the saying of Kol Nidre, the releasing of the oaths and vows, was so powerfully needed at the time to release the Moranos from their oaths and vows. They accepted Christianity. They need to be released from their oaths and vows. Now, I'm a dramatic type of person. Right? So I said, come on, stand over here. And we started to sing Kol Nidre at the Kippur of Yosef Karo. And those who knew joined me, and we spent a few minutes participating in releasing the oaths and vows that stop people from getting connected to Yiddishkeit. We finished. I went down the hill to the Alter Zeder's kever, said Mazel Tov to the Alter Zeder. There's a new anicle. On the way back, some of the people who were with me came over to me and says, Rebbe, you know that lady that was standing there? She has to talk to you. I said, it's Friday afternoon. I don't know. She'll tell her that she was finding me at the hotel. He says, no, you don't understand. This lady is falling apart. She must talk to you. Okay. She comes to me and she says, comes over and she's crying. She says, my name is Miriam Alfredo Gonzalez. My family have been in Spain for 500 years, and we know that we're Jewish. And I am the first one in my family to come back to the people of Israel. And I came to Israel and I went to the Rabbanut, and they would not believe me. They would not accept me as a Jew. Because I had no documentation to prove that I had an unbroken lineage for 500 years. They didn't accept me. And I've been arguing and trying to prove in papers for over 6 months. Anyway, I was getting totally disillusioned. And a few weeks ago, I came on a tour to Tzfat, and I came through the cemetery, and I came to this kever, to this grave. And I didn't know who it was. but something told me that I should pray here. And I prayed, Rabbi, I don't know who you are, but please help me. I want to become part of the Jewish people. And I went back to Yerushalayim, and 2 weeks later, I got my gerus. Did Aliyah. And I came back today to thank him. But I didn't know who he was. I didn't know why this was the place that I stopped for. Until I heard you tell the students that Rabbi Yosef Karo was the one who released the Moranos from the Cherem. And why my prayers were answered here. That's a Sva story. Right? It's a great Sva story. That night, I got up to speak at the Shabbaton. I told the students the story. I said, I want to tell you a story. Didn't happen 100 years ago or 400 years ago. It happened this morning. Rabbi Yosef Karo, the power of Yosef Karo, is alive and working today. And I turn around, and there's Miriam standing there in the crowd. And I turned to Miriam because I had mentioned her name. Yeah? I said, Miriam, please ask me, I ask you forgiveness if I might have embarrassed you. She says, no, Rabbi, you didn't embarrass me. You don't know what you did for me. You gave me my heritage. You gave me my connection back to where I came from. He says, because you gave me my heritage, I want to give you a piece of my heritage. And she handed me the sefer. It's an original binding. It's a sefer called Olas Tamid, one of the Chachmei Eretz Yisrael. The sefer was printed in Amsterdam 340 years ago. Printed in the printing press of Reb David de Castro, one of the famous Spanish publishers. He and his family had emigrated from Spain directly to Amsterdam and set up a Jewish publishing house. And this is one that they printed. And it's an original binding. And as you can see, the paper is still in good shape. I said, you want me to have this sefer? He says, you gave me my heritage. I want to give you a piece of my heritage. She handed this to me. I accepted it. And then I understood a little bit better why it's so important to say Kol Nidre. Because if you know, it says, V'yeshiva Shamayla, V'yeshiva Shamata, Al Das HaMakom, Al Das HaKol, right before Kol Nidre. Onim Atirin L'Spalev Amar. We have to daven for those who have no connection, for those who have lost their connection, the Avaryanim, the sinners of Klal Yisrael, for those who have not made it into Shul for Yom Kippur. And we want to tell them, all the words that we said that hurt you, all the words that drove you away, all the words that have kept us from being one whole people. Kol Nidrei Ahai Vesorei. That's why we do Kol Nidrei. And we're living in a world which we know the pain of those who have been with words and actions driven away from Klal Yisrael. And we can't go into Yom Kippur unless we have permission to include them in our tefillos. So when we come to this Yom Kippur, my request, as Avi said, which I do every year, I hand out the names that he sends around. I said, everybody should pick 5 names. We hand it out, let's pick 5 names. 5 names of children who are in pain. And let's include them in our tefillos. Because if we do, then we turn to Hashem and says, Hashem, if we are davening for them, then you may be able to accept us. If we're not davening for them, what right do we have to ask Him to accept us? And with that, we'll be zeicha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring all of those children back. And we will have a Kol Nidre, we will stand in Yerushalayim HaKadosh and welcome all Klal Yisrael back to Yerushalayim HaKadosh. We'll hear Amen.